Hello and welcome to Virtual Monsterama 22. I'm Darin Bush, sometimes known as the Professor. I am the Virtual Programming Director, at least that's what we're calling it, for this year. You have joined us for the Zeroversary movie watch party, Inhuman Armies, and this is the after panel. I will explain what all of that silliness means in just a second, but first I want to let our panelists introduce themselves. I'm going to change it up this time, and I'm going to let Sarah go first. Please introduce yourself to our Monsterama family.
Hi, I'm Sarah J. Sover. I am the author of the noir fantasy, Fairy Gun Murder, which is on that side, and the comedic fantasy, Double Crossing the Bridge. I also write articles for Writer's Digest and was in Dan Cobalt's Putting the Fact in Fantasy.
Excellent. Thank you, Sarah. Kyle, what about you?
Hey, I'm Kyle Mitchell. I am Darin's second director of virtual programming this year for Monsterama Jr. and published poet, distinguished Toastmaster, and member of the Dead Pirates of Sci-Fi fandom, which have helped with con suites and green rooms and so forth around a lot of Atlanta's conventions.
Excellent. Ellie?
I am Ellie Rain. I am a Gothic fantasy author. My series here and here are the Waterboarding Necrosim Chronicles. Go check them out. I don't know where I'm pointing anymore.
You did better than I did.
The camera is reversed.
Thank you, Ellie, for the outtake there. I'm still Darin M. Bush. I am the founder and executive producer of a little YouTube channel called Tables of Content, which is a virtual science fiction convention. Right now, pretty much all of the videos are similar to what we're about to do here. I'm also a science fiction and fantasy short story writer. I've got some stories on the Kindle if you're interested. All right, so let's get down to business here. This is the after panel for a two-part series called the Zeroversary Movie Watch Party, Inhuman Armies. We have, the four of us, and we hope that you have joined us for this, we've watched three movies that had anniversaries ending in 0 this year that are dear and near to the Monsterama fandom heart. What we're going to do is we're going to, one at a time, we're going to take these movies and we're going to talk about them and see if we can find something interesting to say about them. We usually can. And also the panelists are going to try and survive this discussion for the next 45 minutes, considering you'll see once we get into the details of these movies. So what I want to do is I want to remind you that if you are watching this panel going, what are they talking about? Go to the YouTube channel for Monsterama Con and look for the Inhuman Armies Before panel. Watch that panel. If you're interested, watch the movies and then come back here and join us. And okay, you're back. You've watched the video and the three movies. I will never get tired of that joke. I'm going to do it every time. All right, so let's get started here. The first movie that we're going to talk about is the 60-year-old Day of the Triffids, which, for those of you who may not remember, it's based on a Wyndham book by the same name. The book is fabulous. I recommend it very highly. But let's get into the movie adaptation from 60 years ago. First of all, who watched the movie for the panel? I got 4 hands. I got some reluctant hands, but I got 4 hands there. Does anyone want to? Yes, there's the one hand covered in chlorophyll trying to come to kill me. Does anybody want to go first on this one? I will make somebody go first. You know.
What did I watch?
It's a good question. Save the questions for the end.
Yeah. Of the three of them, I was sitting there the whole time being like, what is happening? Just a bunch of cactars going all over the place.
I have to admit that there have been several Day of the Triffid attempts over the years, and this is not the best one.
Well, I'm waiting for the Danny Boyle remake where they run really fast instead of like just really slow.
Oh, so it's 28 like days of the Triffids later. Did I beat you to it? I'm sorry, Kyle. It just blurted out of me. I was like, oh, 28 days, right? It's okay. Fast moving Triffids. Yeah, you know what? Actually, I like that idea, Kyle, because if the Triffids ran at full speed, the movie would be shorter.
That is true.
I liked it. I thought it was awesome.
Okay. Is this a die on the hill I will fight you?
No, it's not I'll fight you. I understand. I mean, my husband sat there going the whole time. And I was laughing. I thought it was awesome. It felt like kind of like a prelude to the zombie apocalypse movies that, were all the rage like 20 years ago. But I liked it a lot. Maybe it's the bio background, combined with the love of the over the top ridiculous.
That makes sense.
I liked it.
I think for me, it kind of just felt like two different movies, and that's probably why I was so confused, because I couldn't find the correlation between the two plot points. Because there were, like, on the one hand, you had everybody who saw these meteorites. Suddenly they were blind for some reason. I'm still not sure why they were blind, but they were blinded. Everybody's blind. And that's a really cool premise.
Mm-hmm.
But then now you've got aliens that are coming alive with plants and running around and killing people somehow by looking at them. I don't know. I couldn't tell how they were killing people.
I thought the most unrealistic thing about this whole thing was when they were blinded. Every single one of those scenes should have had at least one man using that as an excuse to go grope women.
Well, I mean,
that is the most unrealistic thing about the whole thing.
It happened with the Invisible Man,
Right.
Well, okay,
Yeah.
but for 60 years ago, that blind drunk
Like,
party
what?
in the mansion, that for 60 years ago, that scene was pretty
That was
rapey.
pretty, yeah.
But also, Sarah, you should read the book then if you're looking for that in a all the men are blind scenario, because it definitely happens in the book.
I was excited because this one actually passed the Bechdel test and everything. Like, I was excited for a while, and then we got to the mansion. I was like, oh, okay. Never mind. All your feminist points are gone.
Okay, now hold on. In defense of this movie, which I can't believe I just said that, those were supposed to be the assholes. That wasn't like the point of this story is not an alien invasion or that plants started killing people and eating people. The point of this movie is that human beings are this close to going into anarchy. That just a little push and humans will completely deteriorate into their worst elements and instincts. And I think Sarah is saying that the movie found that. Somewhat.
I just want to know, what do the aliens have to do with the blindness? Was it really they were shiny bright lights?
Yeah, I took it as like that was their maybe they've done that on other planets and it's part of their initial what's it called in war? Somebody that's watching this will comment.
A beachhead.
No, that's not the word I was looking
so
for.
Are they just like spitting out
like shock and awe kind of thing, in the beginning to then throw off everybody at the start, and then before you actually start with your ground forces. But what I was surprised about that and the whole blindness thing was, okay, I don't know when the story happened in timeline of history in the book, but let's say that we're talking about where it took place in this movie. It was this meteor shower like appointment TV? Was this like, it was like literally almost everyone was outside watching like you would do a solar eclipse or something, but without any glasses on, or the cardboard box with a little slit in it. Like, is everybody? I thought, like, really? There's got to be at least like a bunch of drunk people that have just
all the bar regulars.
They're on benders and they're passed out and they didn't see it, and so they would not be blind, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing it was more like a big event where everybody was intentionally outside to watch, like we do the eclipses and things like that, like a widely publicized event, so everyone went out to see it. And I would have like, before the pandemic, I would have said it was totally unrealistic, that whole train station scene, that there's no way that humanity would turn on this little girl and fight over her and thrust her in. But then I saw what we've done over the last few years, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ellie, you were going to ask a question?
The meteor shower instance. The way they were talking about it on the broadcast made it sound as if, oh my god, we had no idea this was coming, and suddenly it's here. Everyone, quickly come out of your windows and watch it. Mm-hmm. So it kind of made me feel like this was not a planned event, because it sounded from the broadcast like it was. just brand new.
Yeah,
But obviously I don't know if the books are different. So
maybe the Triffids were already here all along, and they had somebody that was actually on the radio that had learned to impersonate British broadcasters and stuff.
Yeah, and also that plant that was on the radio has a fabulous singing voice.
Yeah.
Uh,
And this one thinks that it's Ethel Merman.
Yes. So I'll give this. I don't think this is going to ruin the book, and there's some people who are going to watch this video and go, "That's not the way I interpret what happened in the book." But the way I interpret what happened in the book is that the Triffids and the light show are a coincidence. The Triffids were on Earth for years before the meteor shower with the fancy lights blinded a lot of people. So the idea that the Day of the Triffids book is an alien invasion doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It doesn't work.
That's weird, because I saw it the same exact way that Kyle was saying, where that was like the initial assault, like the neurotoxin that is of a venomous creature that paralyzed the prey, and then
they released spores as they were coming down. Like, how?
I mean, again, it's not really the point of the book, right? It's not really an alien invasion.
But I want to know
story. It's it's just not that. It's not the story. It's the story about how humans suck and civilization is flimsy. But there's a moment in the movie that made me go, wait a minute, hold on, what? Because the Triffid was in the conservatory and it was just back in the corner, just hanging out. I was like, wait, how long was that Triffid in the dirt there before it got up and ate the security guard?
I wanted to know why there's a security guard at the greenhouse in the first place.
Yeah. Like Area 52 or something.
Yeah. So it's like we knew it was an alien Triffid.
Why didn't the guard take the secret passage from the conservatory to the lounge?
It's on a need-to-know basis.
Well, Kyle, unfortunately, his name was Mr. Body, so that's why he had to die, or the game can't start.
That explains it.
I think we got off topic here. Okay, so back to the movie. Did anything else about the movie Day of the Triffids from 60 years ago that's worth mentioning?
Yes. The Rocky Horror Picture Show reference that I had no idea what it was until we were watching this movie, and then I saw it in the wiki. Like, there's in the song, the science fiction double feature song in Rocky Horror Picture, it says, and I got, what's it say? I have to read it because I don't remember. I don't have it in my head. I really got hot when I saw Jeanette Scott fight a Triffid that spits poison and kills.
Mm-hmm.
How cool.
Is that what they're doing? That's how they kill people.
Rocky Horror referred to this movie, which is very interesting. But also, I do need to say, one of the fun things about doing these panels is that we get to find out just how many mistakes I can make in an hour. Because I was describing like discs of something coming out of the Triffids were spitting. The flying disc that was the thing that they used to shoot the Triffids, not the other way around. So it's like I just made that mistake, which is very funny to me now looking back.
All right. One more thing. Why did the marine biologist, who we all know what crazy lushes marine biologists are, why in the world would he want to go somewhere when he hears that everything is under attack? They're on an island. Like, where are you going to go? An island?
Yeah. Yes.
They're like, we gotta go. We gotta go. Go where?
Go where?
Spain, apparently.
To the desert.
We got to go to the theater and watch Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I'm ready to move on to the next movie. Anything else about Day of the Triffids before we make like a tree and
I
leaf?
have so many notes. Do you even know how many notes I have on this?
I can guess. I have pages and pages.
I could do this for the whole panel.
Yeah,
we really could.
All right,
I got a page of complaints.
Yeah, overall, I could take it or leave it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'm definitely transitioning to the next film now. So in 50 years ago was the release of the fourth of the 5 original Planet of the Apes movies. This is Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. It is the 4th one.
I would have loved to have heard that to begin with. That would have helped me so much.
Yes, So for those of you who've been playing at home with us this whole time, you might have noticed that Sarah missed the third Planet of the Apes movie due to reasons. She was abducted by Triffids. It was a terrible situation. She's back now. She's great.
Stockholm syndrome. That's why I like the movie.
Yeah, it's right, exactly. So somehow she missed the third movie, which is really unfortunate because it's the best one so far, in my opinion, of the ones that we've watched for this. So the fourth movie, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, is some number of years, I think it's like 15 years after the end of the third original Planet of the Apes. And Sarah, I'm going to pick on you. Do you remember that one word that you mentioned in reference to watching this movie?
No.
I will remind you. I got a message from Sarah that the film was making her uncomfortable, and I went,
yes.
"Yeah,
yes,
yes."
Certainly.
So let's go back to who watched this movie for the panel. Excellent, very good, thank you. So, was show of hands who felt very uncomfortable while watching this movie? Yeah,
I think it was kind of the point.
Does angry count as uncomfortable?
We'll take it.
Okay.
I'll for this part. Yeah, I was when I saw that message from Sarah, I went, yeah, that's the word my subconscious has been looking for about a day and a half. Yeah. So Kyle, what were you saying about it?
Yeah, no, I think that's the point. I had forgotten how many just jabs one after another. I'm just like, okay, we get it, from this society that just and essentially, the comparison to what we've gone through with the African Americans in this country and around the world and stuff too. So it was but it was just jab after jab after jab, and that I kept kind of just I'd forgotten it was that excessive, but it really drove it home and got the emotions out of the audience for sure.
Yeah, it was
at
hard
least
to
this
enjoy.
audience.
It was hard to enjoy for me because I love a good allegory, but this was like beyond allegory. This was like, there was no separation from reality for me watching this.
Yeah,
because of that. But
yeah, it was pretty spot on.
Yeah. So let me ask a tough question. We all had very, very strong emotional responses to this movie, which, hello, art. Did they do a good job of telling this story and presenting this difficult conversation?
I was very compelled the
Okay.
whole time, so it made me listen.
All right.
I feel like that was their goal. So
okay.
I would say yes.
So Sarah, you're saying no?
I don't think so. Like I said, I think that you can be more effective with more allegory. I mean, it was just too, I don't know, it was too simplistic. It was too it took this complex, deep conversation and turned it into, I don't know. I also think they could have been more effective if they had centered it around his mate. I felt like Caesar was not the star of his character arc was less compelling to me than hers was, because he was he was born into this intelligence and then he took in the world. She was a product of this world and evolved this intelligence. And not only that, but almost surpassed him because she also had compassion where he wanted to burn it all down and he was all angry. And then she came, I don't know. I found her story much more compelling than his. And I feel like using her as a lens would have been stronger.
I think they decided not to do that because they had used the original Zero's perspective so heavily in the third one.
I wouldn't know.
So his mate in this fourth one had the same name as his mother, who was shot along with his father when he was born, because this whole thing about the apes are going to conquer the humans in the future.
I thought her name was Lisa.
Was it Lisa? No, it was Zero. Right? I kept hearing Zero.
I didn't catch her name at all, actually, to be honest. But
we'll look it up.
But we'll fix it in post. But the point is still valid, which is that Caesar is an outsider right? He's a stranger in a strange land.
Yeah.
Almost literally. And she is the smartest person in the room who's not supposed to be smart at all.
Mhm.
So I hadn't thought of that until Sarah just said that, but now I'm going, yeah, that kind of makes sense. That they gave her a chance to be impressed with Caesar and to kind of with her face to kind of push him a little bit, which was beautifully done considering, the mask and the makeup and everything. That whoever that actress was, fabulous.
Mhm.
But yeah, I agree with Sarah that her point of view would probably have made this story less simplistic. It would have made it more emotionally compelling. But
And then at the
also,
end, she
yeah.
speaks.
Yeah.
I was expecting her to speak a lot earlier. Yeah.
Well, I was kind of hoping that they would end with him still being the only one that speaks. Not because I don't want them to figure that out, but because it just seemed to me to be too easy. But we're back to, and I want to really quickly get this out real quick, and then we'll move on to the next thing, which is I think what Sarah's reacting to is the fact that they're telling a story which generally takes hundreds of years of history, and they're doing it in 90 minutes, and they're doing it in like a couple of months, maybe in story, a couple of months, on screen 90 minutes. The story of slavery in the United States, for example, it's so huge and complicated, and
Something you can't condense.
and they've squished it down too much. It's still a really good story, and it's still a really good attempt. But
it was a really short movie. It was like an hour and a half. That's really short.
I'm not sure exactly how long it was. Kyle?
Yeah, it definitely right. So it's almost 20 years that he's been in hiding with Armando, and then to kind of come back and think you can be integrated in there and so forth. Maybe he was too old to take care of him anymore, that kind of thing, protect him. And but it was, to me, what came across is even like today, you think the progress that we've made since the civil rights era and so forth, and even if we're in kind of a second civil rights era right now, still, I thought that this movie just proved even more, like, as a microcosm for, like you were saying, Darin, a much longer struggle in that we've experienced in human life. But so it was, to me, it trivialized it a little bit, as a comparison, like just this little real quick sped up evolution of this group of people, or simians and whatnot. But to me, it was it was a little trivializing, for that. But the moment when, at the end, like I think I said in the before panel, that there's a particular moment, and I didn't want to spoil it, that always gets me, and like makes me cry when in the movie, and that was that climactic scene and her speaking, and the end too, and it got me again watching it this time.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was really very emotionally invested in this story and in the characters, which was great. The one emotional kind of threw me off moment was Ricardo Montalban like crashing into that plastic fake window. Like, it's like when somebody in soccer takes a dive, there's nobody near him. But he has to die or the story can't move forward. But like, guys, you could have spent 3 more minutes thinking about how to kill him.
Right.
I understand, but it was just, whatever. The other thing that really bugged me about kind of following what Sarah was saying is that the actual combat, the actual struggle of the physical violence between the two very large groups of people, there were moments where it was, no offense, it was just stupid, and there were moments where it was really brilliant. But there was no middle ground, and they swung in both directions. So the fighting was just sort of like, I got the sense that they just sort of went, well, we just need to have some fighting on screen and some dying and some shooting and some fire and some explosions. But that part really had there was a huge opportunity there for them to let the chimps connect with each other emotionally in a way that they never had before. Because one of the things that happens with a marginalized group, with a slave group, is that you have what is known as the Uncle Tom phenomenon, where some of them buy into the society and they're part of it. There's all these different kinds of reactions to, we're going to have a revolution and we're going to kill them and we're going to be our own people. There's people who don't, there are people who don't want to be part of that. They don't want to be set free. They've bought into the system so much that they're kind of stuck, and it's not their fault. But there were also moments in the fighting where the humans could have had a moment to think about what they were doing, even if they didn't stop. And the chimps could have had moments where they suddenly realized what the consequences were of what they were doing, and then decided to keep going. There's all of these incredibly important emotional things that could have happened in the story that I didn't see. Right? So you guys follow me on this?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely agree. I don't think that there was it wasn't rationalized for a lot of how they leapt to the action, from the chimps, and even with the inspiring speech from Caesar at the end, it's great speech, but a lot of the stuff in between just didn't make as much sense as far as, rationalized for how they got there. And I totally agree with you with the battle scenes and stuff like that. It just seemed kind of like dialed in and not really. To me, for all the hype and almost like foreshadowing that you were doing at the beginning with the main, villain Breck or whatever, who actually I loved seeing. I had forgotten this. Don Murray, I think is his name, that played one of my favorite characters from Twin Peaks: The Return. If you watch that limited event series, as Bushnell Mullins, I think was Dougie Jones's boss. Loved his character on that, and I had not. I don't think I'd ever realized that was him. All the way back here in Conquest for Planet Apes. So that was really cool. But all the hype that his character was doing, but there's only one answer, and kill them all. And then you get to the fighting and stuff. And I thought, okay, are these apes, chimps are really overpowering the humans here? To me, it didn't really equate. Like, it could have been a military operation in 2 hours and quelled it. So I didn't quite get that.
Yeah. I do want to comment on how the physical achievements with the makeup, the masks, the costumes, incredible. There are moments in this film, and we got to remember it's 50 years old. They didn't CG in crowds of chimps. Those are all people in the costumes. And there were a lot of them. And it, again, was just this incredible physical achievement. The logistics of making this movie and just what they were able to get on camera was really very impressive. There are some overwhelming moments of the crowds and everything, which I thought was very impressive. And I also want to say that I give them full points for what they're trying to do with the story, the allegory that they're trying to create. Right? I know that doesn't justify everything that happened, but I do want to say I appreciate that they tried this.
Well, you're right, and the time, we're talking about this from our perspective in 2022. But if you think about when it was released, when it was made, and then when it was released, this is kind of like it is at least breaking into a popular franchise with some social commentary and not shying away from it at all. Like, really boldly that this got greenlit, and the script and the film was the film we watched was made the way that it was made and told the story on screen that it did. It is kind of, to me, I think what I respect about it was that it's part of this civil rights era continuation, and to at least chip away, even if it's in like a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, no, I agree, and especially at that time, the big audience is going to be white males, and so you're telling this story to a whole bunch of white males 50 years ago. And so, yeah, I agree with that.
And making them uncomfortable, rightfully
Right.
so, to be able to actually learn and grow and maybe save another generation and that kind of thing. So I think there was some good positive messages, like you said, Darin, in what they were trying to do with this, with at least what the vehicle itself was.
Yeah, absolutely. I am proud that I'm proud of the people who made this film. I really am. It's even if it veered off, even if it wasn't, as Sarah said, it just, even if it was, not to put words in her mouth, but even if it was unpleasant, I think this was a good attempt at a real social message that is unpleasant that we need to have. So yeah, 50 years ago with this film. So we've got a few minutes left. Ellie, did you want to add anything about this film before we move on?
That pretty much summed up everything. I don't gotta say nothing.
Okay. Now, one thing I'm looking forward to, and I don't need you guys to tell me right now, but what the four of us need to do is we need to go off. We need to figure out what we think is going to happen in the 5th Planet of the Apes film.
No, I object. No.
No?
No more Planet of the Apes. For the love.
Okay. All right. So, Sarah, in all seriousness, you do need to go back and watch the 3rd one, because the 3rd one is fabulous. It is a great movie. Great twist ending. It's got Ricardo Montalban. Watch the previous video about it. It's worth it.
It took me a while to figure out. I was like, I understand there's time travel at play here, but I didn't. It took me a minute to piece it together, and I was like, I got a bone to pick with Darin.
Yes, but also in my defense, I would have watched it
before if I'd known, like if I'd realized.
Yes, and in my defense, 4 of us forgot that you skipped one of these. One of these years where we did this. I didn't
know they were sequential.
Well, but I know, but like
none of
I'm not the only one who forgot you skipped one. So yes, we should have told you to watch the 3rd one. Please watch the 3rd one. It's really good. Everybody, it's really it's a beautiful, wonderful movie, story, everything. It's an achievement too. Okay, guys, there is a reason why the 3rd movie on this list is the 3rd movie on the list. Because look at Sarah smiling there.
Because it absolves you of any wrongdoing ever for me.
If you think this one was going to be anything other than 3rd on this particular panel, you are not paying attention. Army of Darkness. Where is it? Get over here. Army of Darkness is 30 years old this year. This is I am going to refer to this as Evil Dead 3. Yes, tight t-shirt there. I'm going to refer to this as Evil Dead 3. You guys will just have to get over it. I've been hearing people refer to a movie as Evil Dead 4, which I think is very amusing. I also happen to have the box for Evil Dead 2 here. This is one of the funniest, most enjoyable horror movies ever, and if you know me, that's saying something. All right, so Sarah, do you want to go first or last on this one?
We want to ask. Did everyone watch it?
Oh yeah, that's right. Who watched Army of Darkness? Okay,
I watched it twice. I watched it again last night.
I watched it 2 hours ago. So good for us. I do need to, point of order, I do need to go back. Thank you for reminding me, Kyle. That's why you're my 2nd director. So first of all, who watched Evil Dead 2 as part of this panel assignment? Who watched Evil Dead 1 as part of this panel assignment? Okay, now let me, in all seriousness, Monsterama, let me...
1.5 hands, right?
Let me hold, yeah, right, exactly. Just one stump. All right, Monsterama, let me apologize because I didn't realize until way too late that Evil Dead 1 is NC-17. I would have mentioned that in the before panel if I had thought about it, if I'd remembered, or if I'd known whatever is appropriate there. So yes, the first Evil Dead was X-rated, and they changed that to NC-17 for reasons we won't get into because there might be children watching this. But Evil Dead 2, if I understand correctly, was also rated NC-17 the first time, and they kind of had to trim it down a little bit to get it down to R, because anytime Sam Raimi calls you and says, "I need 3 tanker trucks full of blood for this movie I'm making, how much will that cost me? When can you have it here?" Yeah, I can just see the Academy going, "Oh, Sam, so much blood. We're gonna have to. Okay, we gotta talk." All right, so I'm glad we got that business out of the way. So Sarah. Tell us.
I don't even know where to begin. I don't know where to begin. I was so excited to watch both of the Evil Deads. I do have to say, as much as I did love Army of Darkness, Evil Dead 2 was funnier. It just was.
Really?
Yes, it was. It was
Oh.
funnier. Army of Darkness got a little bit goofy in parts, which is totally okay by me. But in a way that Evil Dead didn't. Nothing will ever, for me, top Dead Linda 2's dance. It was awesome. I want to be Dead Linda when I'm dead. Dead Linda number 2, not the first one. Not
the first Dead Linda.
We know Sarah's Halloween costume this year.
Oh, yeah. That would be awesome. I got to tell you, that's a great trivia question, Kyle, which is how many people played Linda in the Evil Dead series?
Right.
Because it's not 3. I think it's 4.
I think it's 4, yeah.
I think it's 4. I'm not sure. So Sarah, we'll come back to you. Ellie, what did you think about this? Was this your first time seeing this also, Ellie?
Yes, all of them. I was actually really excited to have an excuse to finally getting around to watching Evil Dead in general, because I'd heard a lot about it. And I realized I had mixed it up with Night of the Living Dead, which I also have not seen. So I thought it was going to be a very serious, we're actually going to try and be scary, graveyard kind of movie where things just pop out of graves. I'm so glad it was not. Like the first possession that happened when the little mannequin doll thing just went whoosh into the air, I just could not stop giggling. We had to pause the movie because I could not get over it. It was the funniest shit I've ever seen. It's just like, what the hell? And then the face would melt, and it was this weird Play-Doh looking at it. It just looked like Play-Doh. But I think my favorite thing about like all 3 of them, I feel like you have to watch all 3 of them to fully understand the essence of Evil Dead. Because the premise of the beginning, all of their origin stories keeps changing. With each movie, the origin story changes.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I thought that was the funniest part about all of it was every time it's a different girlfriend. It's a different work scenario. Suddenly he had a job, apparently we didn't know about before, but there it is. He has a job now.
That's smart.
That's right.
He has a job now. It was just weird.
So this is the part where I have to indulge, and I have to explain something that Ellie asked days ago that I didn't want to say until we were on the panel.
Oh dear.
Which is, there's a part where Ellie was going, well, wait a minute, how does this match up with this thing over here that doesn't make sense with this thing over here? And I went, wait till you get to the end of the 3rd movie, and then you might figure out where this is going. Because at the end of the Army of Darkness, you find out that everything up to that point is Ash telling a story to his coworkers. Right? Okay? So
I didn't connect that thought. Right? Oh God.
Unreliable narrator. This is the poster child of unreliable narrator in a film, because if you count the shotgun shells, you got it's a breech loading shotgun. It has 2 shots, has to be breached open and reloaded. And there's a point where he shoots once and then reloads, and then shoots 4 times and then reloads. Which is it?
I remember texting about that.
Right? Yes. And I was laughing at my screen going, I can't tell her now. I got to save it for the panel, because it doesn't matter how much gas was in the chainsaw.
No.
Or the car, or how many shotgun shells he took with him through the time portal. He's telling a story to his coworkers to impress a woman at work. Right? So the whole thing is whatever.
Yeah, absolutely right. And then even in the, I don't know if you caught this, when there's the little mini-me's, all the little miniature versions, which was so zany and just very different sense of humor than Dead by Dawn, Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn, which I agree with you was a funnier movie, even though I love Army of Darkness. But then all those little mini ones, his chainsaw was on the opposite hand.
I told him not to look in that mirror.
Exactly, because they're a mirror. Because they're
He
mirror.
specifically broke the mirror so he wouldn't look at it. And then what does he do? He looks in the frickin' fractures.
Yeah.
Like, why would you think that wouldn't apply with the same rules?
But it's
I wanted to be mad. I wanted to be mad at the little mini me. I was like,
mad
like,
why?
this is so, I'm like, this is so stupid. All the way through that scene.
Can't stay mad at the little faces.
But it's all stupid. But it's
I know,
glorious stupid.
I know, but there should be rules, right? There's in most in other franchises, it is important when you are writing fantasy, when you're writing sci-fi, when you're writing horror, that there are rules to the universe. And there's a certain way that magic operates. There's a certain way that evil should operate. And it feels like an Army of Darkness. There were two dudes sitting there getting high going, you know what would be funny?
That is probably how this happened.
So Sarah,
but it's okay. This is not a criticism, because I'm saying I should have been upset about this as a fantasy author. I should have been upset about this, about the horrible world building, but I could not stop laughing through every. I'm like trying to write down cynical notes, and I'm like.
And for the record, Sarah, the guys getting high together to plan this film, there's 4 of them.
Okay.
Yeah. Because if you go and you look up the 4 people who were responsible for the making of Army of Darkness, and you go look at their IMDb's, you will just go, wow, because
well, I knew Bruce Campbell from Bubba Hotep, so
well, yeah, he's done a couple of other things.
Yes, but that's where I knew him from. That's where I first discovered Bruce Campbell, and I don't know why I never watched this series. I think I had the same idea as Ellie, that this was a real horror series when I heard it talked about, and the funny thing is, so did anybody else see that the inspiration for Jim Carrey watching Bruce Campbell's physical humor? And then going that's where Jim Carrey gets everything. Only I never liked Jim Carrey. He always bothered me. He annoyed me. And I'm like, why? Why is Bruce Campbell so freaking funny? Because he really is. And why is Jim Carrey so not for me? And I think it comes down to the contrasting elements. The, very strict, very arrogant, jerk persona. But then contrasted with these just absolutely ridiculous scenarios, I think is why it works so well.
I think it's because he has a chainsaw hand.
Do you think chainsaw hand makes the difference?
That bumps up his attraction to 9 points. Maybe? I mean, it literally descended from the heavens in the well because they dropped it down there, and he just went, "I have the power."
Instant. So I have a Bruce Campbell story for Sarah. And yes, I did build extra time into this part of the panel for this, which goes like this. I don't remember exactly when it was, but I think it was a long time ago at a Dragon Con. I was in the audience for the Bruce Campbell Q&A. I put my hand up, I got called on, and I asked Bruce Campbell, I said, will you please talk about the stunts that the insurance company will not let you do? And I hit a nerve because he answered. He got upset. He was ranting. He was complaining about how they don't trust me. I know what I'm doing. I'm good at this. He grabbed himself by the back of his shirt and flipped.
We're keeping that. Suzanne, keep it.
We're keeping that. He grabbed himself by the back of the shirt and flipped himself over and came down on the stage with a crash on his back, like in the movie.
Are you kidding me?
I was sitting there just going, that was my question. I asked him that question. That was my question.
I have been honored.
It was an awesome moment. Awesome. But yeah, he just comes across as being very self-aware and very clear about what his role is in all of this. I don't think that he thinks of himself as a serious actor in the sense of a dramatic persona. I just think they're having a lot of fun. And I think it comes across.
Yeah, and he does have that plastic face like Jim Carrey does. Both of them are brilliant at the comedy and the physical comedy and slapstick. Obviously, we've seen plenty of that. Especially in Evil Dead 2, and this and Army of Darkness, just like they did with every movie progressively here, you have more and more money, you can do bigger and bigger things, and they really did, like for instance on my shirt here, right, that I've got the pit Deadeye, you added new Deadites into the mix now and upgraded it like a true sequel, bigger and better, and funnier, wilder. But I have a good Dragon Con story for you too, as well, because this movie, of course, it's almost like The Princess Bride. I mean, among like horror films and stuff, right? It's that kind of quotable movie from beginning to end. And so I was at Dragon Con, I don't know, 10 plus years ago, and in one of the main halls where they do the costume contest, like it was one of the pageants or whatever, and some guy playing Ash comes on the stage, and I don't know how many people fit in this 5,000 or something people fit in this room or something, and this ballroom. And so he has the audio and he does you know what this is? And 5,000 nerds in perfect harmony. This is my boomstick. Chills down my body. It was one of the most satisfying, amazing nerd moments ever.
Yeah.
And I get chills right now just thinking about it. I never will forget that. And it's because of Army of Darkness.
It sounds so strange, but this is the Princess Bride movie of its genre, isn't it?
Yeah.
I will have to think of that. That's actually pretty good. So Ellie, anything else from this film stand out? Anything you want to point out to us?
Somebody better check on that well down there, because I think Old Faithful might have turned a bit.
It was like a Guar show.
It was, yes.
Yeah, I mean, basically,
it was so amusing though. Just
yeah, yes, and it's just like you can just see Sam Raimi.
Like, there's no way that one person had that much blood in his body.
No, I'm pretty sure that was. But I have this image in my head of Sam Raimi going, "Now that hose isn't big enough."
Well, and I have to say too, it's worth it. So the DVD I have is Bruce Campbell versus the Evil Dead, which is like the director's cut or whatever, and it's awesome. It's got great commentary with Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell, and actually Bruce Campbell remembers 10 times more than what Sam Raimi remembers about the making. And he just kept talking to all these cool stories and stuff. And they talked about the blood coming up. That was just like, they were all dreading that. All the extras and everybody was dreading that shot because they knew there was literally no way they weren't going to get hit. It was all the splash zone.
Yeah.
But we have to talk about this before we go too, because there are a lot of people watching this video going, hey, wait, y'all are talking about the ending of the US version. But of course, this had two endings.
What?
Two alternate endings.
What?
Which plays into even more of the whole like time travel. And, there's fan theories out there all about, they're all different because they're like alternate universes and things like that of how he changed history or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, the UK version, if you haven't seen that was released in the UK, the ending where he rides off, and instead of just magically, he succeeded, he's back at S-Mart, and now he's telling the story. He goes into this cave where he can be, private, like blows up the entrance so he will be hidden for however many, 500 years that he's trying to sleep or whatever, and has the drops. But just of course in true Ash fashion, he gets distracted after like the third drop, and it's like adds an extra drop, and so he sleeps too long, and he wakes up like Rip Van Winkle, and the world has been destroyed by nuclear war and stuff, and you got it got Big Ben like collapsed in this big devastation. It's like, I slept too long, no.
Yeah.
Okay, now
and
that sounds like a much better ending.
yeah, and Evil Dead 4 should have been that movie.
I
But we didn't-
disagree. I like the unreliable narrator being planted like that because, like, at one point I was like, how in the world does he know how to train militia with spears? He works at S-Mart. I mean, those must be some killer training videos he
Yeah.
had to sit through. Like, so I love the unreliable narrator introduction angle
Yeah.
at the end.
Yeah, but I don't know. I like the idea of him oversleeping through the apocalypse.
I had like a chemistry or a physics teacher once tell me that there's not a single chemistry textbook in the Western world that has the instructions on how to make gunpowder in it. Now the Anarchist Cookbook does, but not a chemistry textbook. So that you could come up with a whole list of things that support the unreliable narrator theory, which is like how many shotgun shells, right? So like, okay, the shotgun came out of the tool shed in Evil Dead 2. How did he have shotgun shells in his trunk of his car that match the shot? It's like, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter.
I vaguely remember him grabbing a box of shotgun shells in the house in the second movie before going into the portal, but there's nowhere that I could find of seeing what he did with the box. He just took 2 out, and all we saw was the 2 going into his pocket, but I don't know what happened to the box.
So he somehow had the foresight to put spare shells in the car when he's fighting demons in the cabin.
Must have been during the montage. Just
We need a montage. Yeah, exactly. Sarah, what else? What else stuck out about Army of Darkness that you enjoyed?
Okay, so I did have one story about when we were watching Evil Dead 2. So I have a bio degree. I was a vet tech. I was a wildlife rehabilitator, and I am a mom. I don't get grossed out very easily. I can do a lot of things. I do a lot of grossing. I was the only one who would chop up the rats with scissors at the place that I worked at to feed the baby raptors. But anyway, I can't handle eye stuff. Eyes really, really, really gross me out. And there's one scene where the eye pops out of the deadite and goes into the mouth of one of the... I gagged so loud.
I
gagged. My husband had to pause it because he couldn't stop laughing at me for like 5 minutes because I was heaving.
Really? Because I lost it. That was another point where we had to pause it because I was laughing so hard.
I mean, it's so ridiculous, but I'm with Sarah. Eye stuff, I can't do eye stuff, and that
it's over the top.
Okay, but here's the thing, and I'm going to admit this in public. The worst part of Evil Dead 2 for me is when the deer on the wall turns into a puppet and starts doing like this, right? The puppet deer is the most disturbing moment of that whole movie for me.
Agreed. Fully agree.
Yeah, I agree. Really creepy.
Really creepy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny too because I have this really bad habit, I guess you can call it a compulsion, where I have to just say what I think is going to happen next pretty much immediately. Most of the time, it actually does happen, and the deer head talking was one of them.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, so that's probably going to be possessed in the next 20 minutes. Oh, look at that.
It's very for those of you who know Chekhov's rifle. Yeah, the deer was Chekhov's rifle. I want to take us back to Army of Darkness. How awesome was it watching Bruce Campbell beat himself up with a prop book?
It was the best. That was actually really convincing, gotta say.
Yeah. I can only imagine what his medical bills are like. Anyway, but yeah, just brilliant.
And that fighting against your own hand. He had me. I was with him the whole time.
Yes. And it was relatable. No.
And I was like, oh, so that must be where the thing came from in the Addams family. This is his origin story.
There are fan theories. There's some weird fan theories about that.
So I have a question.
Sarah.
I know I'm not supposed to ask questions, but I have a question. Where did the Deadites get? No, I'm not supposed to ask questions of this kind of this movie. Where did they get naked girls?
Yeah,
they just naked girls run by the screen.
What was the thing with the?
That was convenient.
They went and they abducted her, right? And they turned her, which I didn't like how he got there, but I really liked what's her name, Sheila, Dead Sheila. I like.
Yeah.
Sheila. I don't know what it is.
Maybe they visited a brothel or something.
But then they got her, and they have her over there, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Come on!" and they drag, and there's like 2 or 3 naked women.
Yeah. Come on, Hurley. Yeah, what?
They went
Yeah,
grocery shopping.
Spontaneously
Well,
naked women.
but where did they get crossbows that still worked where the strings weren't rotted? Like, where did they go to? Did they go to Army Navy surplus and buy
They went
weapons?
to S-Mart,
Like,
obviously.
why they
Yeah,
bought it from S-Smart? Crossbows from S-Smart.
Also, why
Guaranteed
I
not to
get
degrade.
one other logical issue I have is why did the army not rise? They were already fighting Deadites. I don't understand why there wasn't an army until he screwed up the chant. Like, why wasn't the army there the whole time?
Right, and what was with them digging each other out when some of them were able to get out and some of them weren't? It's like, I mean, I think they were just having fun playing with their toys.
Yeah.
That was my take, was that they had, which actually, if you watch some of the extras and stuff that out there, even about Evil Dead 2, also like Greg Nicotero, and it was like the early Greg Nicotero working on that movie, this series, and some other big names too that have made a big difference in like special effects and horror and stuff like that. And I think they were just playing with their food, basically. They were just like, oh, what can we do with this? Oh, let's throw those mashed potatoes over there, and we're gonna, mix these peas and carrots together. It just was like really, really having fun with, and the audience is just gonna, sitting in theaters, just gonna eat it up.
Yeah.
Not question like us fine critics, analysts analyzing this.
Yes, because we're so sophisticated over here with this. So Ellie, did you catch and Sarah mentioned it just a couple minutes ago, did you catch the Day the Earth Stood Still reference?
Yes, obviously.
Excellent.
I wrote it in the chat. Didn't you see my text messages?
Klaatu. Barada. Nerd.
Necktie.
I said most of the words. Yes. That was the moment when he goes, never. That was the moment where I realized we were watching somebody make their Dungeons and Dragons adventure into a movie. That was the moment where I went, oh, they've been playing D&D while they were high. And they took notes.
Yes. Well, you know what the original name they wanted to call this was?
No.
The Medieval Dead.
Ooh.
Oh,
I didn't know that.
Okay.
That is what Sam Raimi wanted to, and they wouldn't do it. The production company and whatnot wouldn't, and so they wound up being, Army of Darkness. I can't remember who they said came up with that, but somebody, and but originally they wanted to call it the Medieval Dead.
The Medieval Dead.
The Medieval Dead, yeah.
I like it. I like the wordplay.
Me too.
I know, right?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. But also the Kyle, weren't we talking in a previous Monsterama panel about how there has to be a windmill?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
There was a
Was
windmill.
that the same windmill from the Brides of Dracula?
Brides of
Was that
Dracula,
the same
yeah.
set piece?
Right.
It was?
No, I'm.
There's a windmill. There's a windmill in almost every one of those Universal Monster movies. I'm thinking that's a tribute to that. There's so many tributes. I mean, the Day the Earth Stood Still is just one of 100 examples.
Well, I mean, Gulliver's Travels was in the public domain, so they were able to do the little mini ones.
Yeah, I definitely caught that. I texted it too. I approve.
So maybe Don Quixote, because Don Quixote was
tilting at windmills
too. The tilting at windmills, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, so where does Horse go? The poor horses, they always get the shaft on this one. Another thing that I thought was kind of weird was not the little versions of him that came out of the mirror, because the mirror magic dupe, right? But when the thing was growing inside of him, and when it separated, it had all of his clothes, including the holster to the shotgun, but not the shotgun. The shotgun, you can see the shotgun butt over Ash's shoulder, but the other guy who's going like this, he's got everything except the shotgun. Wait, how did he duplicate? Whatever, it doesn't matter. But it's just one of those moments where you go, whatever. My favorite part of that scene is when he shoots him into the tree and the tree goes, which is not a prop error, it's continuity, because that's a demon possessed tree. I guess. I don't know. Anyway.
I loved
Shannon?
Evil Ash.
Yes.
With the jaw scene where his jaw.
Yes.
Yep. And Bruce Campbell had so much fun. Again, beating himself up.
Which I think I mentioned it on the before panel too. If you didn't catch some of the references that Sam Raimi does in all of his movies, and with the recent Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, you get to see the car. The car is in Multiverse of Madness. Ash's car is in that floating in one of the scenes.
Rewatch it.
Yeah, and then of course Bruce Campbell is in it, and what is he doing? He's beating himself up. So
yeah. Yep.
I want to speak up on behalf of Dead Linda #2. I want to know how he fell in love with Sheila so quickly. It was like yesterday. Like his girlfriend, who he was so in love with, was brutally murdered and turned into a deadite. A day maybe. And also, did he ever sleep? I don't think he ever slept. So maybe he wasn't lying or exaggerating. Maybe he was sleep deprived.
Maybe.
I mean, from the time they get to the cabin onward. I mean, he goes through the portal. He's captured. He's dragged off. He meets Arthur and Eric. Not Eric. What's the red guy's name?
Henry.
Yeah.
I was going to say Kevin. I don't know.
A redhead named Kevin.
A redheaded uncle named Kevin.
What about now? What one thing that Ellie mentioned in the before panel that I kind of poo-pooed was is this Camelot and King Arthur, but the guy's name is Arthur, and I went, wait a minute, hold on. Why did they?
And there's a Merlin character.
There's Merlin,
like Obi-Wan.
Yeah, they didn't say it, but right there's the wizardy guy. Yeah.
So maybe it was like Camelot before it rained only at night and everything was all comfortable and green and I don't know. I don't think it was supposed to be Camelot, but like the fact that it was Arthur.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like, they were just teasing. I don't think they actually thought that was King Arthur, especially when he shot the end off of Excalibur with his boomstick. I don't think that was King Arthur. I think it was A Arthur. An Arthur. All right. Any parting shots on Army of Darkness before we pay the bills? Okay, all right, I'll take that as a no. Thank you, everybody. That was a really great discussion. We ran a little long there. We'll see how long that discussion goes in the edit, but I just didn't want to stop. What I want to do is I want to give everybody a chance to reintroduce themselves to the Monsterama folks that are still with us, and also tell us how the Monsterama folks can track you down on the interwebs. I'm going to pick on Ellie first this time.
Oh, okay. Again, I am Ellie Rain. My books are the Necroseam Chronicles. You can find them at necroseam.com, necroseam.com.
Thank you, Ellie. Kyle?
If you want to look me up on social media, I'm at Poet Kyle. If you want to read my book of poetry, this one here, or this one here, that will be inserted in post. And you can look up my 2 books of poetry just by my name. Slang is my first book of poetry, and A Dream of Christmas is my second.
Thank you, Kyle. Sarah?
I am Sarah J. Sover. If you like comedic speculative fiction, check out Double Crossing the Bridge. If you like noir fantasy, check out Fairy Godmurder. You can find me at sarahjsover.com.
Excellent. And I'm still Darin M. Bush. I will be doing more Monsterama videos and also will be live at Monsterama, which is, next weekend. Holy cow. We'll be there for a few live panels and some really amazing stuff. You can also find my short stories on the Kindle under Darin M. Bush, my author's page on Amazon. And my YouTube virtual science fiction convention, again, is called Tables of Content. And this is the part where I say thank you to our panelists. Thank you to everybody who's still with us after this hilarity. And we're going to wave and say goodbye. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.